What's up, football fans? Welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite football guru here. And today we're diving into the NFL Power Rankings for Week 16. But wait, before we kick things off, don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share this video with your buddies who still think they're better than Coach Belichick at fantasy football. Spoiler alert, they're not. Now, let's get into it. The Buffalo Bills, the good, the bad, and the MVP, and some defensive issues. Let's start with the hottest topic in the NFL. No, not the Eagles fanbase after a win, but the Buffalo Bills. These guys are hotter than a summer day in Phoenix, and their quarterback, Josh Allen, is playing like he's got something to prove. A road win over the Detroit Lions in Week 15 pretty much locked up the MVP for Allen. He was throwing laser-guided missiles to his receivers, making plays with his legs, and looking like a human highlight reel. But, before we get all, Buffalo is the best team ever, on you. Let's take a step back and do some math. While the Bills' offense is like the Avengers of the NFL, super powerful and explosive, their defense? Not so much. In that Lions win, they gave up a whopping 42 points and 494 yards to Jared Goff, the great Goff. And just a week earlier, they let the Rams drop 44 on them like it was a Black Friday sale. If you're a Bills fan, you're probably sitting there thinking, Josh will carry us to the Super Bowl. Don't worry. And while he definitely can, that defense might need to start taking some notes from their offense on how to close out games. For now, the Bills are dangerous, but they're not the best team in the NFL just yet. The Philadelphia Eagles, the real deal or just lucky? Alright, now let's talk about the team that might just be better than the Bills, and no, it's not your uncle's flag football team, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. These guys started out 2-2. And honestly, we were all like, maybe they're not as good as we thought? But, they've won 10 straight since their bye week. Yeah, you heard that right. They're a perfect 10-0 in their last 10 games. And they're doing it in style. What's the secret sauce? A solid defense that's only allowed 48 points in the last 3 games, basically. They're giving up less than you'd spend on Taco Bell after a tough day at work. Plus, their offense isn't slacking either. Jalen Hurts is throwing darts. The offensive line is eating up defensive linemen for breakfast. And MVP candidate Miles Sanders is putting defenders in the spin cycle. Sure, they might not have a signature win like Buffalo's impressive beatdown of Detroit, but they've been consistent and dominant. And let's be real, if you're the Eagles, consistency wins championships. The Bills are great, but the Eagles are built for the long haul. So, yeah, I'm calling it, Philly's the best team in the NFL right now. Kansas City Chiefs, always dangerous. Always contenders. Now, I know some of you Chiefs Kingdom fans are already sitting on the edge of your seats, waiting for me to say your team is number 1. And look, Kansas City is always dangerous. They're like that friend who doesn't study all semester, yet still aces the final exam by pulling out some last-minute magic. Patrick Mahomes, even with a limp, is still the guy you don't want to face in a big game. The Chiefs are sitting pretty at 13-1, and they're always the team you feel like you'll have to beat to get to the Super Bowl. Yes, the defense could use a little sprucing up, and Travis Kelce may not be catching 100-yard games every week like he used to. But the Chiefs are just one of those teams you can't count out. So while the Bills and Eagles might be catching more attention right now, don't sleep on Kansas City. They're that team that somehow shows up when it matters and could snatch a victory when you least expect it. Mark my words, they're playoff ready. Minnesota Vikings, quietly dominating. You didn't think I'd forget about the Vikings, did you? These guys are like the NFL's version of that friend who shows up to the party early, cleans the dishes, and leaves before anyone notices. And then, when it's all said and done, you realize they've won, again. Minnesota is sitting at 12-2. And they're handling business without making much noise. The defense isn't flashy, but it gets the job done. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins continues to prove that he's just good enough to get the Vikings into contention without causing a lot of drama, which is saying a lot in the NFL. Sure, they may not be on the level of the Eagles or Bills, but the Vikings are dangerous because they get it done without the frills. They don't care if you're flashy, they'll just win games and be there in the playoffs when you least expect it. The Green Bay Packers, a sneaky threat. Here's a team that's low-key heating up. The Green Bay Packers are 10-4. And no one's really talking about them. But don't look now. Jordan Love is doing his best Aaron Rodgers impression. Throwing touchdown passes and not giving up the ball every 5 minutes. The Packers had a dominant win over the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football, and if they keep this up, they might just be the team no one wants to face in the postseason. Honorable mentions. The rest of the playoff hunt. Okay, enough about the top teams. Let's run through a few others that are quietly making noise or just failing miserably. Dallas Cowboys. They're back. Baby. 3 wins in 4 games. And Mike McCarthy is showing signs of life. They're the NFL's version of that person who just refuses to quit, no matter how bad things get. Detroit Lions. We love the Lions. But after giving up 559 yards to the Bills, we're starting to wonder if they're just a fun story or if they're playoff ready. The jury's still out. Los Angeles Rams. If you're in the NFC West, don't count them out. They've won some key games and might just sneak into the playoffs like that guy who shows up at the end of the group project and still gets an A. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs aren't as flashy as last year, but they keep winning games. Don't sleep on them. They might surprise you in the second half of the season. The bottom of the rankings. Not much to see here. Now, let's talk about the teams that are, let's say, working on their offseason plans. The Giants, Titans, and Raiders are all in the mix for the top picks in the draft. And well, let's be honest. It's not looking too good for them. At this point, it's about seeing what young guys they can develop for next season. And there you have it, folks, your Week 16 NFL Power Rankings. With all the fun, drama, and football wisdom you've come to expect from this channel. Make sure you hit that like button if you agree or disagree. But we'll still love you. Subscribe for more content. And share this video with your friends so we can keep growing this awesome community. Let's get ready for some wild playoff races and, of course, some epic Super Bowl predictions coming your way. See you next time. And until then, keep your helmets on and your fantasy teams even sharper. Scissor. Hey, football fans, welcome back to the channel. Do you want to hear about an NFL game that felt like a superhero movie? Well, grab your popcorn because Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills just put on a show for the ages against the Detroit Lions. And you won't believe the kind of performance Allen had. But before we dive into this thriller of a game, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to stay updated on all things NFL. Now, let's talk about how Josh Allen reminded everyone why the Bills are still Super Bowl contenders and why his MVP chances just got even stronger. The narrative. Closed Super Bowl window? Think again. Remember this offseason, when there was a lot of talk about the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl window closing. A lot of people thought trading Stephon Diggs might be the end of their championship hopes. Well, turns out, that was just some talk with no substance because after Sunday's game, the Bills are as dangerous as ever. Josh Allen is playing at an insane level. And if you were wondering if Buffalo is a Super Bowl contender, the answer is loud and clear, yes. Absolutely. Against the Detroit Lions, who came into the game 12-1. The Bills put up 559 yards of offense and handed the Lions a 48-42 loss that wasn't even as close as the final score suggests. Josh Allen was the centerpiece once again, throwing for 362 yards, rushing for 68 yards, and scoring 2 rushing touchdowns on top of his 2 passing touchdowns. That's 5 total touchdowns in just 2 games. Folks, not to mention, Allen's performance was so dominant. It's hard to imagine him not winning NFL MVP this season. So, what does this game mean? Well, it showed us that Josh Allen and the Bills are fully capable of going all the way to the Super Bowl. Maybe even Super Bowl 59, where they'll be a force to be reckoned with. The Bills' statement start. The Buffalo Bills didn't waste any time making a statement in this game. They came out firing on all cylinders, scoring touchdowns on each of their first 3 drives. Allen started with 2 rushing touchdowns, showing that his legs are just as much of a weapon as his arm. Then, James Cook added a touchdown of his own, giving the Bills a 21-7 lead early in the game. What was more impressive wasn't just the fact that Buffalo was scoring, it was how effortlessly they were doing it. The Lions' defense, which had been hanging on after key injuries like the one to Aiden Hutchinson, couldn't seem to slow down Allen or the Bills' offense. In the first half alone, Allen passed for 254 yards. And it wasn't like he was just dinking and dunking his way to those yards. He was hitting deep passes. And when things weren't open downfield, he simply took off and ran for positive yards. The Lions were completely overmatched and had no answers for what the Bills were throwing at them. The Lions fight back, but it's not enough. Now, the Lions are no slouches on offense. Jared Goff and the offense were able to put up some points. Tim Patrick caught a nice pass for a touchdown. And even offensive lineman Dan Skipper got in on the action, scoring a 9-yard touchdown on a trick play. However, their efforts to keep up didn't change the fact that the Lions' defense had no answer for Josh Allen. At halftime, the Bills led 21-14, but it felt like they could have been up by even more. The Lions had the offensive firepower to stay competitive, but their defense simply couldn't contain Allen, who was on a mission. Buffalo runs away with it in the second half. The second half was more of the same. Amon-Ra St. Brown fumbled after a catch in the third quarter. And the Bills turned that into a Khalil Shakir touchdown, pushing their lead to 35-14. By the time the third quarter ended, Buffalo had put up 35 points and 455 yards of offense. It was a total clinic.